Hello, my learning friends. A simple question to be answered. Can the president unilaterally launch a nuclear attack? That is the question. We have some answers. The short answer is going to be yes, but we're going to have to define unilateral. Now, of course, the Congress has the power to declare war. That's Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11. But because the president in Article 2, Section 2 is commander-in-chief of all the armed forces, he has the ability, and because he's elected or she's elected to be president, to make that decision that I don't have time to go to Congress. I have to defend American interest right now. And that was specifically set up during the Cold War when we were under a threat of nuclear attack. And more specifically, it was set up after the Cuban Missile Crisis when JFK really wanted a process set up, not only to validate that it was a legal order, but to make sure that we had a quick way to respond to the Soviets. So the system that's basically set up today is there's a military aide that follows the president around with something called the nuclear football, a briefcase. It was named the nuclear football because it was named in Operation Dropkick, which is where you drop the football and you kick it, so it's the football, you get it? And basically inside that football are a pre-loaded set of different military orders that the president can choose from. In the olden days, it was said to be 1,000 pounds, but they've condensed it so it's more like a Denny's menu now. So the president can be like, I'll have some scrambled eggs and I'll have some nuclear annihilation in the Far East. How about that? And there's also a validation procedure. So basically the president has something called the biscuit. I don't know who names these things, and it's in a plastic case, and they're going to crack it open, and there's a credit card inside, and that basically has validation information. So once they make that call to the command center, they're going to ask them first a oral callback. They might say alpha beta, and the card would say beta dogga. And they go, that's probably the president. And then they would say, give us the gold code. And there's a series of alphanumeric codes on the credit card. And the president kind of has to memorize for that day what line code is the right one. So if they don't have a good memory, they might not get it right. But it's line 11, they count 11, they read the code, they're good to go. It was actually said that Bill Clinton lost the biscuit a few times. And Ronald Reagan, when he was shot, they ended up finding the biscuit in a hospital bag tucked inside his shoe. Maybe the Gipper kept it in his sock. So that series of events that could occur would probably have to be something where the military woke up the president. And then the president would go through that series of directions in order to launch the attack. The problem becomes if the president doesn't have a reason to attack and just decides they're going to attack. And we'll talk about that in a second. But once the order has been given, it's in kind of that process of being carried out, which can be as quick as 5 to 15 minutes. It would go to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Secretary of Defense, then it would go to the Strategic Command Center, and then it would go to one of the locations where we have one of our 900 active nuclear warheads, whether it's going to intercontinental ballistic missile from a base in the United States, whether it's going to be a bomber, or whether it's going to be a magic submarine that's going to launch the attack. But that's how the process works. Now let's look at a yes and a no. So the yes is quite simple. Constitutionally and through precedent, the president has the right solely to make that call. We elected them, we trust them, and if they be cray-cray, there's the 25th Amendment, Section 4 for you, but basically, people are told that this is the president, they have a right to do it, they would be following orders. So in a very basic sense, the answer is yes. The president can order by themselves a nuclear attack, but there's no big red button. But the answer is also no, because there is a human element, and that human element would be the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Secretary of Defense, and the two guys that got to turn the keys at the same time to launch the missiles. All of those people have been trained only to follow legal orders, not only by their superiors, but by the Geneva Conventions. But a legal order has to have some type of military necessity. It has to be discriminatory in terms of where it goes, and it has to be proportional in terms of how many civilians it is killing in terms of the objectives that we're going for. So if the order is an illegal order, the president is just gone crazy in the middle of the night. It's said that Richard Nixon in 1969 got some news that the North Koreans had shot down a spy plane in the Sea of Japan, and he actually said, call the Joint Chiefs of Staff, I want plans to attack nuclearly. And Henry Kissinger, who was the NSA director at that point, called the Joint Chiefs of Staff afterwards and said, Let's just wait till he sobers up a little bit. That's the human element. So in a sense, if you're in the no column, you're not really relying on a legal process, you're relying on disloyalty to the President of the United States. So would the Joint Chiefs of Staff respond to an order that, was just responding to a crazy tweet? I would hope not. But of course, then the President could fire them and hire somebody else. So we're back to the yes column. So I hope you understand a little bit about how that works. Whether it's a real yes or a real no, I don't know. Maybe you should decide and leave it down in the comments below, because that's what you do on the YouTubes. That's why we're free and such on the internets. But if you haven't subscribed to Hip Use History, we have over 500 videos. You can do that in the subscribe button down below, or visit us online, www.hipuse.com. Go to the video arsenal where you can look up the videos, and they're all nice shelves and such and organized. All right, I'm going to say it even though it's a shorter video in a new format, where attention goes, energy flows, and we'll see you, my internet friends, and all those kids that are made to watch my videos by their teachers. We'll see you next time you press my big red button.